Let's understand the basic definition of payment. What exactly payment means? Payment, to be defined, is nothing but the transfer of money or goods and services in exchange for product or services. What it means is, take an example of your job or the service which you provide to your organization. For an example, throughout the month, you do the service for your organization, and for that, you get paid in terms of salary. So that salary gets credited in the form of digital payment into your account, or if you get salary in terms of physical cash, that is also the payment for the service which you have provided, isn't it? So in early days, when these different modes of payments were not introduced, that time still the payment used to be done. How? The barter system, right? The barter system is what they used to call as the mode of payment. If you see this example, earlier days, what used to happen is, for the food, uh, if you want to purchase something like, for example, books, and if you want to make a payment for that, then the other person can offer you food or any kind of materials for that, right? So that is also called as a payment, but that is called in a barter system. Same way, nowadays, as the generation has changed and the era has changed and technical aspect has come into the picture, the way we make payment has altogether evolved. We have different forms of financial obligations through which we can make a payment, right? So one of them is securities, other one is bond, physical cash, which is released by the central bank of the respective country, and then gold. Any other sorts of financial obligation which has value can be used as mode of making payment, right? Now, you have different way to make a payment nowadays. You have this online banking platform where you can make a payment. You have cash, which you can make a payment, that is a physical form, and then debit card payment, credit card payment, and check, demand drafts, etc. Right? This is what the payment means. Let's understand the financial institution or the bank, what exactly it means and who are they. So these financial institutions or banks are nothing but a company. It is an entity to be uh, to be effect. So these can be either private or government, right? You would have seen private banks all over the countries, whichever country you belong to, or the government bank as well, which is run by the federal government, or in India, it is run by the RBI. Now, these banks, right, it provides different facilities to its customers. Those facilities are called as loans, deposits, investments, and the currency exchange as well. So take an example of Citibank, which is around the world, or State Bank of India in India, Standard Chartered Bank, which is MNC Bank as well, which is around the world. So these all banks have these standard facilities which they provide to its customers. They also provide different tools for the transaction initiation or to make a payment. We have different modes currently popular known as net banking, phone banking, debit card payment, credit card payment, checks, etc. So these are the different tools which is being provided by the banks. Now, what is the role of financial institution in terms of the payment? Since we are learning about the payments, what is its role? So the role of financial institution in terms of payment plays a very vital role because it provides a medium through which money can be received or sent from and to the sender and receiver party. Now, you generally open an account in bank itself, and you use that particular account in order to send outward payment or to receive the payment into the account, and you can then withdraw in terms of ATM withdrawal, or you can make purchase of anything, or you can make a payment in different forms, as I discussed earlier. Now, financial institutions or banks falls under the local country's central bank regulations. For example, Citibank in USA falls under the rules and regulation of Federal Reserve. Now, the Fed is the central bank in the US. Same way in India, we have Reserve Bank of India, who is taking care of the regulations. Now, the bank can provide different mode of payment in that, right? We have ACH payments, book transfer payments, RTGS payments, and so on. There are different payment schema, in fact, which is indeed a bank participant into that payment schema where it uses to make a transfer, and the customer are given that facilities to choose and to make payment with that particular payment schema. I'll show it to you in the coming sessions. Now, same way, if a bank wants to make a cross-border payment, right? For an example, if a bank want to make from State Bank of India to Citibank USA in USA, then bank needs to have a connectivity to the entity who provides the messaging services, right? So one of them is quite popular, known as SWIFT. Almost more than 50% of the cross-border payment goes through this SWIFT network, and SWIFT is nothing but the message services. It provides the messaging securely and in a reliable way from one party to another party. We'll understand on the SWIFT in coming sessions as well. Let's understand about the central bank. Who are central bank? Now, central bank generally is defined as the bank of the banks. Why we call central bank as bank of banks? Because it is a financial institution under which all the local banks fall under. Now, in order to if you want to launch a new bank in a certain country, you need to get the permission, you need to get the license from the central bank, and only once you are ticked in terms of all those checklists, then only you'll be able to launch or start a new company in terms of the bank all over the country, right? So central bank also plays a very important role in terms of distribution of money and credit for the nation, right? And these are also established and protected by a law, and hence they are politically independent. It doesn't is dependent upon any of the government which is formed, right? It is secured by the Supreme Court generally in all the countries. They are responsible for creating monetary policy, rules, and regulations for the banks, isn't it? Like if you want to launch a new bank, or if you are already having a bank in certain country, then you have to adhere to their rules and regulations, which is time to time revised, and all the audits is done by the central bank team itself. And if you do not fall, or if you do not obey those rules and regulations and policies, then you must need to pay the penalties, or there are many chances that you are suspended, your bank is suspended. So those rights it has if you or your bank is in the certain country. As I said, like the central bank has the authority to give license, to revoke the license, and charge penalties for not adhering to regulations. Example of central bank, or the central bank named in different country, for example, in India is called as Reserve Bank of India, RBI. In USA, we call it as Federal Reserve. And in Saudi Arabia, for an example, is called as SAMA, so Saudi Arabia Authority Monetary, right? So these are some of the central bank name